How would you like to go behind the scenes of one of the greatest minds on the planet for creating change and transformation? In this episode today, we're going to go through a live demonstration that Richard Bandler, the co-founder of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is doing, and I'm going to give you the breakdown of the breakthrough. Let's go. Welcome back for another episode of the Self-Mastery Show. My name is Luke Pierce and I am a seeker and teacher of self-mastery techniques. In today's episode, I want to take you on an adventure to not only change the way that you think, feel, and act, but I also want to give you a behind-the-scenes look of one of the greatest minds on the planet for human change. This is Richard Bandler, and if you don't know who that is, he is the co-founder of neuro-linguistic program. That is the process of changing the way that you think, feel, and act with the senses of the body and the information that your mind and brain is processing. So in this live demonstration, he takes someone that has got a bad feeling, bad memories, and he obviously transforms that into something that is of benefit to the person. Now, during this demonstration, I'm going to be taking you through all the behind the scenes tools, tricks, techniques that Richard Bandler is actually using to get the results. So let's dive into it.
A little bit about what I learned. So I'm going to need a little help because unfortunately I don't bring my own clients with me because I find there's enough people who have enough horse shit no matter where I go. So I want to find, is there anybody in here that has a bad memory and you think about it way too much and makes you feel bad? You think about it, makes you feel bad? You do, sir? You seem smiling awful lot for somebody that's got a bad memory. I beg your pardon? There you go. Do you smile when you think about this? No, and it makes you feel really bad. Has it done it for a long time? Okay, why don't you come up here?
So what Richard is doing right now is step number one. He's got a purpose or an outcome in his mind. As someone that is conducting the training, he wants to give a demonstration of the skills and the tools that he is talking about. So what he's done is he said to the audience, giving them an invitation, hey, who here has got something that they feel bad with and it consumes a lot of their time? Then what he's going to be doing, consciously or unconsciously, is scanning the audience, and he's looking and he's seeking for that one person. Now, you might get many people that put their hand up at the event, but that doesn't mean that you just pick out anyone. What you want to do is you want to qualify, and this is exactly what Richard is doing now. He's qualifying the person to come up on the stage, because it would be pretty awkward if you said, all right, well, you come up on stage, sir, and then you get them up, they're in the chair, you begin doing your work, but yet the person didn't really have the problem that you were so-called trying to fix. So that's one big thing that I want to point out. Very, very minor detail, but still a very powerful thing to understand. What he has done is he said, hey, I'm going to qualify you. Have you got a problem? Yes. Is it something that you do? Yes. Can you do it right now? Yes. And as long as that person has ticked and flicked each and every box, now Richard has said, great, now come up on stage and let's begin to see what happens.
And sit down. Where's your name tag?
It's on my jacket.
Are you really in this?
The nerves are kicked in already for him.
Hey,
he doesn't know what to do. Do I sit down? Do I stand up?
Quarter him, would you please? Okay, just sit. That's all right.
I'm in the chair.
You're a complicated guy, aren't you? Okay. All right. Now, you don't need to tell us what this is. That's not important. It doesn't matter what it is. But
now, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is not necessarily about diving into the story and figuring out why they do things and all these sorts of crazy other, thoughts. It is getting how they do the problem. So what Richard is going to do now is he's going to find out, or he's going to begin to find out, how this person does the problem. Then he's pretty much just going to influence the way that the person does the problem. And when you influence the way that someone does their problem and you change it, you change the problem. When you change the problem, you probably don't have a problem anymore.
So how often do you think about this?
Most days.
Most days? Okay. How do you know when to have a day off?
I've been working at it.
You've been working at what?
trying to think about other things.
Trying, that sounds like you're failing. If I say I tried to open the door, it means I didn't, by the way.
Yeah.
But anyway, when you think about it, it does make you feel bad.
It does make me feel
Okay,
bad.
do you think about it like once a day, 10 times a day?
Probably 3 times, 5 times,
Okay, and when you think about it, how long do you think about it?
up to 3 hours
Per time?
per time.
That's
lot
like
of time.
9 hours in a day.
Yeah, I think about stuff a lot.
No, you think about one thing a lot because there's no day left.
Yeah, I think about it when I'm doing other things. I think about it all the time.
You think about it all the time. Well, you think about it 9 hours a day. Okay, but let's be conservative and say
It's been getting better.
it's been getting better.
All right, one thing that we need to point out is this can actually be quite painful to watch. Why? Because on one hand, this person has actually got a problem that is consuming a lot of their time in the now moment. And you can guarantee that it's come from a past experience that has ended up in pain and not pleasure. So that's step number one. Step number two, this person, and understandably, they've probably, been brought up on stage in front of 500 people, maybe more, whatever it might be. They use a lot of humor to mask what's actually going on. So you can watch this in, from one point of view, and you can see the person, they're smiling, they're laughing, they're trying to play nice and all these sorts of things. On the other hand, there's actually something going on that is significantly influencing this person's life. Richard knows this, we know this, and even the guy sitting in the chair, he knows it as well, but he just hasn't got there yet.
So does that mean like 7.5? All right.
Probably down to an hour a day.
Oh, an hour a day. Well, that's only about 5,000 hours a year.
Yeah.
Every 10 years, it's 5,000 hours, but, not a lot of time. There's nothing you could do with 5,000 extra hours in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Do you know how much sex you could have in 5,000 hours? Are you married?
No, sir.
You have we don't have time to be married. You have a girlfriend?
These two things are related.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Well,
So if I think about sex, then I'm back thinking about her. So
Stop it right there. Now, this little interaction has got no context to it whatsoever. At the very start, he said, hey, who's got a problem? Come up on stage and let's see what it is. Now he's through the process or going through the process of finding out actually what's going on. And bingo, the person has just told Richard exactly what's going on. Her. Every time I think about this, then I think about her. So obviously you put 2 and 2 together. There's been some sort of a relationship breakup in the past, and he didn't probably want it to break up. So then he's thinking and feeling things of loss. And guess what? He thinks about that every day for, what did he say? Nearly 9 hours. So really good thing that you got to pick up on is people's language. Talking is an unconscious process. If this was your words as they come out of your mouth, then you got to understand that the unconscious process of talking is going to tell people all your problems. This is why when you are trained in how to listen for these specific little cues and these little red flags, so to speak, then they're very, very clear.
well, you can be, but if she's not there, it's not as much fun. Then you're actually having a relationship with your right hand. Hey, baby. It's you and me tonight. I love you. Okay, now let me ask you this. When you think about this, I have a guess, because I'm a very intuitive person, Virginia taught me to be intuitive, that the memory itself is either life-size or larger than life.
Larger than life.
Larger than life. So it's not only do you have a movie in your head, you have an IMAX.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we need to stop here. Very important part. So the first thing that Richard is going to go through and go to, and this is, one of his key methods, is finding out what is the picture, what is the image of the problem. Now, he has just asked this in a way where he didn't really ask it. He said, hey, what is the experience? Like, paint me a picture. And this guy has said, well, it's actually larger than life. What they're doing right now is Richard is trying to, and he is getting to the point where he's like, give me the specifics of the actual picture. He's going to take him through different levels of detail. So they're going to start way up really, really high, and they'll chunk all the way down until they get to a stage where it's the actual truth of how big this actual picture or experience is.
Well, that's cool. So how big is it then? Is it as big as this room, or?
Oh, no, it's bigger than the world.
No, I'm talking about the picture in your head. Size-wise.
The universe fits inside the picture. It's an existential kind of level.
I don't want to be existential. I want to be literal.
Okay.
When I say it's larger than life, is the picture?
It's kind of like as big as Boston and New York.
Well, yeah, but when you visualize something the size of Boston in your head, how big is the picture?
Oh, yes. Yeah, as big as this room.
Big as this room. So you have a gigantic fucking screen inside your head with a big fucking horrible picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now they've gone from the picture is the size of the universe, or the universe fits in the picture, down to the size of New York, down to the size of Boston, down to the size of this room. Now, for me personally, I would have just asked a person, hey, when you think about this event, when you think about this problem or challenge, do you have a picture? They probably would have said yes. I would have said, great, point to it. In your experience right now, point to it. Is it way off into the distance? Is it really big out here? Is it way up close here? It's just a different way of finding out where the picture is. At the end of the day, that's all he's doing.
Okay, and do you have a big wall in your house?
Not at the moment.
You don't have any walls in your house?
I do have walls.
Okay, but
there's probably a few that are big enough.
fairly good. Okay, if I came in and painted the most horrible thing you ever seen on the wall in your house, would you leave it there?
No.
But you'd leave one in your head.
That seems to be what I've been doing.
Oh, okay.
Little metaphor or analogy, very powerful. It's like, hey, if I went to your house and I drew something on your wall that you would not like, you wouldn't leave it there, would you? No, of course not. Then why are you doing it in your own mind? Unconscious mind's like, it's actually quite silly. Maybe we should change that.
It seems to be what you've been doing. It seems right. It's not really what you're doing.
No, it is. That's what
Just say yes when
Yes,
the answer
sir.
is yes.
Yes, sir.
Man, when you're dealing with people like this, and bless their cotton socks, right? Obviously, he's in a very vulnerable state, but their guard is so far up because of the situation. You can understand that, but they're using humor. They're sort of trying to dance around the problem and all these sorts of things. And obviously with Richard, he uses a lot of humor as well within his work. So they're sort of playing off each other. There's going to come a time and point, and I think it's coming very, very soon, where it's like, okay, cool, all that BS, let's put that to the side and actually get to work.
You want to use that penis again? All right. Now, we're going to try a little experiment because the brain is designed to remember and to forget. See, and both of those things are good things, especially if you get to choose which ones are which.
Listen
and it's
carefully.
not so much that you forget things, it's that they don't affect you viscerally. Yeah. Because when you think about this, it makes you feel bad enough that, and of course you do it again and again and again, and then you have to have some crappy internal dialogue to go with it, just, because what would a crummy picture be without some sound? In fact, you should really add music.
Orchestra.
Orchestra. You got an orchestra? Oh my God. Well, there you go. This is a whole work of art, isn't it?
So this would be so easy to just skim over the top. Most people would just think, oh, he's just talking, but it's not. It's very, very far from talking. This is hypnotic language and hypnotic language patterns. He's talking about remembering to forget and forgetting to remember. And he is talking directly to the unconscious mind. So he's like, hey, you know that big picture, the thing that was sort of ruling your life? Yeah, sometimes it's good to forget those things. And sometimes when you do forget those things, you're able to feel better now. And, this is what's happening 101. Really powerful, really powerful.
I mean, if you're going to destroy your life, why screw around? Violins, the whole thing, Yeah, that's great. Okay. Well, if you're going to be stupid, do it in style. That's what I say. Now, what I'm going to...
That is when you can see the exact moment where Bandler has reached his threshold of BS and playing games. And he's like, right, if you're going to be stupid, do it in style. Bang. And you watch things change now.
What I'm going to ask you to do is really quite simple. Okay, don't do it until I finish giving you the instructions, because I don't want you to do part of it. I want you to do the whole thing. What I want you to do is I'm going to have you close your eyes and look at this big fucking nasty picture. And the minute you start to see it, I want you to shrink it down to a circle this big. And I want you to start flickering it between black and white. Okay? Do you understand?
Yep.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Look at the big bad picture. Drink it down, blink it black and white, blink it black and white, blink it black and white, blink it black and white. Okay? Now.
All right, let's stop there. For the people that are watching this that have never studied NLP or know much about it, you're probably thinking, what the freaking hell is going on? Now, for you that have studied NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis, or even self-mastery techniques with myself, you're going to know exactly what's going on. This is called submodality. So at the end of the day, all the information that you have ever experienced within your life is stored in pictures, sounds, and feelings within your mind. When that information is linked to things that you don't necessarily want or that make you feel bad, guess what? Like I said, they're stored in a picture. So this picture that he's seeing right now has got a negative emotion linked to it. It's probably got negative self-talk linked to it and negative strategies, as in things that he's doing that he doesn't want to do. What Richard is doing now is pretty much taking that picture, shrinking it down really, really small, and now he's flicking it black and white. The reason why that is because, let's just put it this way, right? If I got something that was really, really scary and you were absolutely terrified on it, and I made that picture big and bold and bright, guess what? You're probably going to be more terrified. If I got that same picture, shrunk it all the way down so it was like the size of a 5-cent piece, right? And then I made it black and white, black and white, black and white. You'd probably be like, oh, what is that thing? I can't even see it. Okay, so your unconscious mind is doing exactly the same thing, and that is the process going on right here. And I tell you what, it is one of the most powerful processes out there, hence why, Bandler it's pretty much his go-to thing.
One more thing I want you to do. Okay, that's good enough. You got it. That's simple. I know how the brain works.
Yeah.
I don't understand what Freud did. I understand something that works. It's a little different.
Yeah.
Okay, now the other thing I want you to
Now, once again, this very detailed, covert language. He's like, I don't understand what Freud did, but I understand that this works. So already the unconscious mind is, this works, this works, this works. Really powerful.
do is I want you, this memory, however long it went on, it's got a beginning and it's got an end. Yeah. Otherwise, it may be 3 hours long, but who gives a shit, right? You know where the end is, okay? You may replay it a few times, but wherever it is, I want you to look at the last picture in a minute, not yet, okay? Don't jump ahead. I want you to look at the last picture, and then I want you to rewind it to the beginning as fast as possible. So everybody's walking backwards, talking backwards.
Okay, back to it,
yeah, back to the beginning. And we're going to throw in a little circus music to make it interesting.
Okay.
You ready?
Close my eyes,
Yeah. Okay. You ready? Yeah. Close your eyes. Jump to the end. Start running it backwards.
Now all this information is being distorted.
Stop. There we go. Okay. Now, all you did was two things.
Okay, so imagine like an old school CD player, you used to put the CD player in, you'd hear your tunes. What would happen if that CD was actually scratched? It would be jumping, you wouldn't hear the CD properly. That's exactly what is happening right now within this guy's mind. He's taking a certain amount of data, he's scratching it by influencing the way that he experiences it, and then he's giving it back to them and then saying, all right, cool, well, how is it now? And it's gonna be different.
This is about 3 or 4 minutes, okay. And then you're convinced this was a bad thing, right?
Which?
Feeling bad about this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I want you to go back and look at it again. Can you make yourself feel bad?
No.
And now he's in shock because he's just thinking to himself, what the freaking hell just happened? And all that happened was very, very simple, but yet very, very profound. You take that big picture that was once really, really scary, you shrink it on down, you pretty much bugger off the picture, and guess what? You bugger off all the negative emotions and anything else that goes with it. Really, really powerful. Well played.
I can put it back if you want.
Thanks. That'll do just fine. Thank you very much.
Well, we're not done yet, though.
Oh, no.
Well, I worry about things. I'm a worrier by nature.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the 4,000 hours?
Yeah.
Have you thought about that?
Yeah, well, revenge was one of the things.
Then you're still thinking about it.
Yeah, no, yeah.
See, I mean, do you want your future to be squarely aimed at your past?
No.
All right, here we go. Very powerful. Once again, once you get to step one and you clear out what is so-called causing the problem, guess what? You've got to fill the void with something else, a thought, feeling, or an action. So obviously what Bandler is doing now is pretty much, this is what I would say personally. I'd say, what's different now compared to 10 minutes ago, or however long the process started? And they would say, oh my God, I feel so much better, da, da, da. Then I would say, what do you do differently now moving forward into the future? If they say nothing, which is very rarely they say nothing, then I would say, well, think about what do you do differently now moving forward into the future? Then they might say something along the lines of, well, I just focus on myself. And actually, when I'm in relationships with other people, I'm going to be very aware of what's going on in that point in time. I'm going to be understanding of other people's needs. I'm going to be understanding of my own beliefs, my own values, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that's going to help him out very, 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 very much.
Do you know the best thing about the past?
What's in the past?
Is that it's over. That's the best thing about the past. You know the best thing about the future? You can do all kinds of wonderful fucking shit. You can do things you haven't even dreamt about yet because you've been too busy replaying this bullshit over and over again. If you worry about the past, it reappears. I had a friend once that got jilted by his wife. Her name was Christina. They were friends of mine. And I didn't see him for about a year. He went off and practiced depression until he got really good at it. And he would come over and he'd go, do you think you could help me with the depression? And I said, no, you're doing a fine job. So finally one time he came over and I did a little something and he was feeling pretty good and he left. And then I get this call that he's getting married. It was only like 30 days later. And I went, uh-oh. And I went over, and the weirdest thing was not only did he find someone like this woman, she looked exactly like her. She looked exactly, it was scary. And I accidentally kept calling her Christina, which was not a good thing to do, by the way. That doesn't make you a very good friend. But I just couldn't help myself. I would say, oh, Christina, will you pass me the sugar? And she would go, I'm not Christina. And I would look at him and go, is she or is she not? She might be. And if she is, she'll do the same thing.
Now, watch the body language. You've got to jump in here. This is a metaphor, by the way, and a hypnotic metaphor at that. Look at the body language of the guy in the chair. Before, he was, bobbing his head and all these sorts of things. Why? Because he's done exactly the same thing. Now it's getting to the stage of the metaphor where Bandler is telling him the results of going back and doing that. And he's saying, well, Christina, you're still doing the exact same thing. Is it the same person or not? He's crossing his arms here because he's like, this is something that I have done and maybe even doing in that moment.
But he married her and she jilted him.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. You did beautifully.
Yeah.
And there you go. That is the end of that breakdown. I tell you what, it's so powerful to understand that simple little things can have such a significant, big impact on your life. I really do hope that you enjoyed this breakdown of the breakthrough, and I would love to hear any questions or any of your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what it is that you learned, what it is that you got out of this video, and if you want me to keep on making these videos so you can learn and change the way that you think, feel, and act. I will see you in the very next episode.